I'm Jalila Starr. Welcome to my weekly messages. Today I'd like to discuss the topic of family patterns. Family patterns are patterns of behavior that stem from dysfunctional beliefs that we act out. It's a behavior we act out over and over again until eventually it becomes just a pattern of conditioned response, so to speak. And how these family patterns not only affect us now, how important it is to really begin to identify them so we can work on them between now and 2012, because that's how it affects our ascension. That's when it will affect our ascension and the purpose of these patterns. I mean, what's the value? Everything has a value, so what's the value? The reason I want to talk about this today is because it came to mind when I went down to visit my family this past weekend to finish the final details of my father's estate. My father passed away about 18 months ago. So just a little bit about that experience and how that brought about this video. I went down and I saw 4 of my brothers. I have 5 brothers. I have no sisters. And my mother. And anytime we go to see my mother, we're always concerned. We're always a little on edge because my youngest brother lives with my mom. And he is emotionally challenged, shall we say. He lived at home the longest out of all of us kids. So when all of us were gone, there's only my little brother to listen to my mom and be her emotional support. And my mom's always kind of needed that. And my mother and my father were in a war, pretty much, well, mostly my mother, toward my father when I was growing up. And it was, we used to call it the Civil War because my mother's a Southerner and my daddy's a Yankee. Anyway, so my little brother got the brunt of all my mother's pain and anger and rage toward my dad. In other words, she'd talk about it and he'd be there to, kind of make it, fix it, help her feel better about it. As a result, he became terrified of life and he's not been able to really function on his own. And now in his early 50s, he pretty much has such an anger problem that he's kind of dependent on my mom. And so between medicating the pain with alcohol and then not having the alcohol when family's around, trying to be a part of the family, and then that basically creating a doorway for all this rage to come out. It leaves everybody kind of walking on eggshells, trying not to upset my little brother. He's like a big grizzly bear. He's like 6'2", and he was about 230 pounds. He's a big guy, big Irish boy. So you really don't want to upset the grizzly. Anyway, we thought, well, let's hope we can get through the weekend. And we got almost through the weekend before he got triggered and he just kind of went crazy. And I remember driving away from there feeling like I left my mom, in a situation that she's kind of fragile and cannot physically handle. And just praying that everything would be okay for them. And and yet at the same time, there's a lot of healing for my brothers and I with our mother and some with my little brother as well. And I just realized how, we only have 2 years before the end of 2012. And that's when our planet crosses the galactic equator, lines up, with the galactic core, all the planets line up. And we move through a field of energy that is vibrating so fast that it will manifest everything that we think and feel within an extremely short time. So whatever we haven't dealt with inside, we will physically manifest in our reality very, very quickly. So if it's positive, you're going to manifest some really good things. If it's negative, you're going to manifest hell on earth. And I'm thinking, I really don't want to manifest hell on earth. And then that brought me to, well, look at all these people who are starseeds and walk-ins and light workers, and they're trying to ascend, but they're not, and they're looking for ways. And I get emails several times a day. What do I do? Where do I go from here? What's the next step? Well, let me tell you, family patterns is a good next step. Because whatever is going to happen in the future for the planet, for you personally, it can all be altered by dealing with your family patterns, the ones that are dysfunctional, and finding a way to integrate them. I mean, I don't have time to go into detail about what that looks like, but everybody's got family patterns that are dysfunctional, and actually all your relationships are based on the family patterns you learned as a kid. So if you look at your family, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, and objectively view their relationships, you will find a pattern of behavior running through each of them. And that you will then, if you look inside, will find in yourself, and will find in your relationship with your partners and with your children and with everybody you're involved with, because those patterns are based on the core beliefs. So, and I've written about this numerous times. You'll find many articles in the article section of our website. But the point I want to make is we have 2 years to work on these patterns. And if you, and here is a way to get in touch with what those patterns are, so you can identify what you need to begin to deal with. And if everybody started dealing with those dysfunctional aspects of their family patterns, you would impact the timelines between now and 2012 and help minimize earth changes, help minimize a lot of these things that are prophesied to occur, or at least alter them to the point where they're not as destructive, and we can move through them. So where do we go from here? Well, there's a lot, like I said, a lot of information on the website about how to understand your family patterns. There are the keys of compassion, the booklets that give you tools to deal with them from a higher perspective, because I've used these tools and I've healed a lot with my brothers. And we've affected my little brother in some ways. We've helped him to begin to work through his pain. And we hope that we will continue to be able to help him. But anyway, there are resources. I'm not the only one who has them. There's a lot of other great teachers out there who have resources. I encourage you to go and look at those resources and begin to deal with your family patterns now, because you can each make a difference in what we find in 2012. So hopefully this will be of some benefit to you today, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.